Clouds of steam rise in the cool mountain air of Felton, California on October 1st, 2016. The fires are lit on all four of Roaring Camp Railroad's narrow-gauge steam locomotives for the third annual Harvest Fair and Steam Festival. The engine house is teeming with activity as the engines are prepared for the day. Here, engine number 3, the Kahuku, and engine number 2, the Tuolumne, move out of the engine house in tandem. Engine number 1, the Dixiana, shoves the day's excursion train down to Roaring Camp Depot. Engine number 7, the Sonora, can be heard in the background leaving the engine house to meet up with the Kahuku and the Tuolumne. Number 7 heads down the yard throat to meet up with number 2 and number 3. Down at Roaring Camp Depot, the Dixiana departs for the 11 o'clock trip to Bear Mountain. Dixiana is a Class B 42-ton two-truck Shay locomotive built in 1912 by the Lima Locomotive Works of Lima, Ohio. Number 1 was purchased by Roaring Camp in 1962 and was the first engine to ever run on Roaring Camp's rails. As the number 1 starts her run up the hill, Sonora, Tuolumne, and Kahuku wait on the Y track for number 1 to clear the south Y switch. The 3-engine lash-up will spend most of the day on display at Roaring Camp, with number 7 departing midday to run a second section to Bear Mountain behind the Dixiana. With the number 1's train clear, the triple header moves into the depot. Like the Dixiana, all 3 of the engines in the lash-up have a rich history. Engine number 7, the Sonora, is a Class C 60-ton 3-truck Shay built by Lima in 1911. Sonora is a veteran of the West Side Lumber Company and was purchased by Roaring Camp in 1985. Number 2, the Tuolumne, is a 37-ton 2-truck Heisler locomotive built in 1899 by the Stearns Manufacturing Company. Like the number 7, number 2 is also a veteran of the West Side Lumber Company and was formerly their number 3. Tuolumne holds the designation of being the last steam locomotive to ever operate on the West Side Lumber Company, and she is also the oldest operating Heisler in the world. Engine number 3, the Kahuku, is an 042T plantation tank engine. Kahuku was built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1890 for the Kahuku sugar plantation on the Hawaiian island of Oahu, where she worked until 1950. She was then shipped to the Sutro Baths Museum in San Francisco, where she sat on display until she was purchased by Roaring Camp in 1966. All 3 engines will take on water at the depot before going on display. All of the water tanks are full on the locomotives. Before they can go on display, however, some switching must be done in order to get the locomotives in a more desirable order. The Tuolumne will be powering Roaring Camp's historic sawmill engine via a steam hose, meaning that it needs to be at the back of the lash-up so that it can be closest to the sawmill on the siding. Number 7 needs to be at the front of the lash-up so that it can easily leave the siding to go pick up its train at the engine house for the second section later in the day. This will leave Kahuku sandwiched in the middle of the two larger engines. With the switching complete, the crew can turn their attention to hooking up the mill engine to the Tuolumne. The siding that the locomotives are sitting on is called sawmill siding, named due to its proximity to the sawmill. Usually, this siding is used to store the Bear Mountain train at night, but since the train is out on the railroad, the siding is being used as a display track. Roaring Camp's single-cylinder mill engine was once used to drive a replica sawmill shown in this shot. This mill once cut lumber out of trees that had fallen along the Bear Mountain route in order to show how lumber was made with steam power. Unfortunately, it fell into disrepair in the early 90s and has since been inactive. Before the Steam Festival, the crew decided that it was time to revive the old mill engine that once powered the sawmill. Leading up to the Steamfest, repairs were made to the engine and it was greased and oiled in order to free up the components. After being dormant for over 20 years, the mill engine turned over for the first time under steam only 2 days before the event. October 1st was the first time that the mill engine had been run for the public in the 21st century. Since the mill engine has only a single cylinder for power, and it only runs in one direction, it can get stuck top dead center, meaning that it needs to be turned over by hand before it can run under steam. Senior engineer Tom Shreve can be seen turning over the mill engine by hand in order to get it started. The mill engine was once powered by this donkey engine. It is currently not operational, so on this day the mill engine would be powered with steam from the Tuolumne. It's almost 12:30 as the display engines simmer on sawmill siding. The Dixiana is pulling back into Roaring Camp with the 11 o'clock Bear Mountain train. As it passes the sawmill, the passengers will get the opportunity to see 4 active steam engines and a steam sawmill engine in operation. Every Steamfest, Roaring Camp pairs up with Kinetic Steamworks, a group based in Oakland, California dedicated to the preservation and restoration of steam technology and heritage. Every year, they bring an array of unique steam-powered equipment to display, but the mainstay of their display is Pappy, a 1917 Case steam-powered traction engine that has been restored to operation. Today, Pappy is driving Kinetic Steamworks' newly restored AOK Baker fan. Pappy is wood-fired, meaning that the fire has to be stoked by hand. Kahuku and Sonora have been moved into the station for display, so visitors can get an up-close view of the locomotives while Tuolumne remained powering the sawmill. As the 12:30 train approaches the station, Kahuku moves out of the way and back onto the siding. Sonora has gone back to the engine house to pick up the train of passenger cars. This train will become the 2:15 second section that will run 15 minutes behind the regularly scheduled Bear Mountain train at 2 o'clock. The second section was added in order to accommodate extra passengers. Dixiana comes back into Roaring Camp after its 12:30 trip. With its passengers loaded, the Dixiana departs Roaring Camp for its 2 o'clock trip to Bear Mountain. The train will stop briefly at the crossing to board one last straggler with 2 o'clock tickets. Only 15 minutes behind the Dixiana, Sonora departs with the 2:15 Bear Mountain train. Between 2014 and 2015, Number 7 received 12 new wheels and 6 new axles, as well as extensive boiler work. These wheels and axles were made specifically for Number 7 to keep the locomotive rolling into the future. After break-in runs and testing, Number 7 returned to revenue service in early 2016. Let's follow Number 7 on her journey to Bear Mountain and back as she tackles the steep grades and twisting turns after her extensive rebuild. Back down at Roaring Camp, the Dixiana comes in from the 2 o'clock trip to unload its passengers. Only 15 minutes behind the Dixiana, number 7 comes into Roaring Camp Depot. A 1915 Model T Ford has rolled up on the scene. The 126-year-old Kahuku and the 116-year-old Tuolumne pose with the 100-year-old car at the end of this serenade in steam. We hope you have enjoyed this Tree Frog Flag production. Make sure to like and share this video, and make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. And for even more content, you can like our Facebook page on Facebook. Thanks for watching.